In today's video, we're going to be making a quick and easy notebook cover in 3 different sizes. To download the free PDF pattern for this notebook cover, as well as check out all the tools and materials that I use in this video, go ahead and check the video description below. The leather I'm using for this project is a chrome tan leather called South Street by Newberry Leathers. It is the color wheat and it is 5.5 ounces to 6.5 ounces thick, or 2.2 millimeters to 2.6 millimeters thick. For the closure, I'm using a generic 2mm black elastic cord, a 1.5mm hole punch with a maul, and for our notebooks, we're using 3 different sizes: the traveler size, the pocket size, and the passport size. The pocket size is the exact same dimensions as a field notes notebook, and the passport size, yep, you guessed it, is the exact same size as a passport book. For the pattern, you have 3 different options. The first shown here is the free PDF printout. You'll print this out on A4 paper or letter size paper, and it comes in either square corners or rounded corners. There's also a laser ready version, as well as the acrylic template set, which is shown here, which you can order from my shop, and I will ship it right to your door. Step 1, go ahead and mark all of the holes that we're going to have to punch out with our hole punch and trace around the template with a scratch off. Here I'm tracing the pocket and passport size. And after you're done tracing, go ahead and cut out that design with your knife of choice. I'm using a number 2 X-Acto knife. If you're going to be laser cutting, go ahead and run the file. I will say for this particular leather, it did not laser cut as well as I would have hoped. The engraving came out great, but some of the edges were a little bit more burnt than I would have liked. I'll probably not use this leather for that in the future. Once everything's all cut out, go ahead and punch all of the holes that we marked for the template. Like I mentioned in the introduction, I'm using the 1.5mm round hole punch. However, you can use whatever size you want, especially if you're using a thicker elastic cord, you might want to scale up the size of the hole. This next step is not mandatory, but since I'm using a chrome tan leather that doesn't burnish well, I'm going to go ahead and use some edge paint to cover these edges. If I were using a vegetable tan leather, I would burnish these edges at this point. Alright, final step, time to install the elastic bands. Go ahead and take your piece and turn it flesh side up. Unwind some of your elastic, and I like to burn the edge of the elastic with a lighter just to cinch down some of those fibers. It makes it easier to push through the hole. To illustrate the first hole we're going to pass through, I made this little diagram here you can see on the side, and you're going to want to locate the hole in red. If you need to enlarge the hole a little bit with a scratch awl like I did there, it is completely fine. So go ahead and pass the elastic through that hole. You're going to want to pull it out about 5 to 6 inches from the edge of the piece on both sides. After cutting to size, go ahead and put the elastic through the same hole on the opposite side and pull tight. Next step, we're going to pass the elastic from the grain side through the hole to the flesh side. And of course, same thing on the other side. Next step, we're going to tie these 2 ends together using a simple knot. When tying this knot, I like to make sure it's as close to centered as possible. It just looks better. If you know any special types of knots, this is a good time to show your flair, but I don't, so I'm just doing a really basic shape here. As far as tension goes, you don't want it to be too loose that it doesn't hold any tension, but you don't want it to be so tight that it's completely bowing over the leather. There should be a slight bow in the leather once you are done tying these knots. With the knot tied, I go ahead and trim some of the excess elastic. Moving on to the center holes, they start the exact same way as the last one. Just move up 1 hole and push through from the flesh side to the grain side and pull out about 5 to 6 inches. Now it's time to form the loop that will show on the outside of the notebook cover. Go ahead and find that center hole in the middle that you marked, and you probably will need to enlarge it a little bit with your scratch awl. Now, using your scratch awl or something with a similar point, you're going to go ahead and push the body of the elastic through that hole so it folds over on itself. This part can be a little tricky if the hole isn't big enough, but if you have a properly sized hole, this should pull through pretty easy. I like to pull the loop out about 3 inches to start, and you can test the tension of the elastic by just wrapping it around the case as you have it there. The tension is really up to you. You don't want it to be too tight that it's going to stretch out the elastic or bend the leather, but also not too loose that it's just not going to hold the notebook case together. Now that the loop is complete, you're going to finish this side the same way we did the other side. You're going to go ahead and measure about 6 inches or so from the edge of the notebook case and cut the elastic. From there, you're going to pass the elastic through the interior hole from the flesh side to the back out of the grain side, and then wrap it around and come from grain side to flesh side back to the interior and tie a little knot the same way we did the previous one. And after you finish the center holes, which is the hardest part of this whole project, you're going to go ahead and do the last line of holes, which is the same exact process as the first line of holes because there is no loop for you to do. And our notebook cover is finished. As you can see, it has a slight bow to the body, but not so much that it's completely rounding over the leather. This will all straighten out as soon as you put some notebooks in there to give it some structure. All right, here's what our final products look like. This first one here I did on the laser cutter, and the other two I did by hand. This is the pocket size as well as the passport size. If you have any questions or problems with this project, go ahead and shoot me an email and I will help you to the best of my ability. Thanks for watching.